And now I would like to introduce Samir Kamal to take away this session 201 in Building Skills, How to Plan Effective Meetings. Samir.
Thank you, Toastmaster Carol. Hi, good day. Welcome to IGTO, the International Guidance for Training Online program, where we share the best practices on how we can conduct our online meetings and events. This program is brought to you by Global Trainer Online Advanced Club. Our Toastmaster of the day today, he has been attending the online Toastmasters meeting since late 2014. He was the founding president of the first advanced 100-person online club, Firebird Collective, in March 2016. Then he was instrumental in getting the online clubs and Toastmasters to adopt Zoom in the later half of 2016. Let's all welcome the Toastmaster of the second session of IGTO, Distinguished Toastmaster Brian Dodd.
Thank you, Samir. It's good to be here. I'm sitting on a beach in northern part of Australia, but a lot of them don't know where that is, but there's an island there too, as a marker. This is one of my dreams that I had a long time ago when I was in business first, and I built a house out in the countryside, and my vision was to be able to visit my clients online and stay at home. We've finally achieved that some 40 odd years later. We have we have two speakers today, but first I want to ask the timer, Samir, how's he going to indicate to the speakers when their time is up? Where did he go?
Brian, I think he might be a little bit nonplussed because in our planning meeting, we had agreed that we will do this on the side, not really kind of showing it. Yeah.
All right. So each speaker is responsible for their own time. We will quickly move on to Simon Cornwell. Simon is from District 69, and I couldn't find his bio, so I went looking. Wow. Found out he became a DTM in 2017. And here's the roles that he has held for a little while in District 69. The PR manager, a chief coach, the Corroboree editor, the division director mentor, and the webmaster. So let's welcome Simon with his how to create and manage your Zoom account.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Yes, I am privileged enough to come along today to present to this esteemed establishment of experienced Toastmasters, one and all, on talking about Zoom, which is one of my passions when it comes to Toastmasters. I am a techno buff. I live and breathe technology. I've worked in the IT industry for almost 20 years, and then I retrained as a disability support worker, and that is what I am currently doing at the moment. I did an hour-and-a-half webinar this morning on Basecamp Manager, went off and did a 3-hour shift and took a client of mine to the shops to get what he needed to do, and then I rushed back here to be able to present this seminar for you this afternoon, or this 15-minute educational session. So I won't waste anybody's time, and let us get into it, shall we? So today I'm going to speak to you about Zoom. Let me just turn off the lower third. I'm going to speak to you about Zoom and what you can use in regards to the Zoom platform for your online meetings. and we are using Zoom today. And I thank the IGTO for inviting me along to this Zoom meeting today. So I'm going to speak to you for the next 10 or 15 minutes about creating a Zoom account. And I do want to leave about 5 minutes at the end for Q&A. So I will not skim over it, but if there's any questions that you would like at the end of the session, please sing out and I'll be happily answer them for you. So Zoom is a website, or it's actually a platform that you can use that is delivered to you via a website and also a desktop application. So to begin, you need to go to the Zoom website, which is as simple as going to zoom.us. No, it's not zoom.United States, it's zoom.us, as in we are family. So that's why it's called zoom.us. So once you go over to the zoom.us website, you are presented with a screen here, and there's not much you can do about it without having an account. So what we need to do is we need to set up an account on the Zoom website. So to do that, you go to the right-hand side up the very top there and you select sign up. It's free. Now there's two ways you can actually sign up to a Zoom account. One is free and one is fee. Fee to pay and free to play. So you start with an email address, you pop in an email address. Now if you're going to set it up as a Toastmasters club, you might have a generic Toastmasters club at gmail.com. So it could be xyzclub@gmail.com, pop it in there and sign up with a password. And then you have the opportunity to upgrade your plan from a free plan to a pro plan. And the major differences between the free plan and the pro plan is how long you get to have a Zoom meeting for. So if you can conduct everything within 40 minutes, you can have a free plan. But after 40 minutes on the free plan, it will disconnect you and you need to restart the Zoom program again, start another meeting, or if you're going to do this on an ongoing basis, it's probably best to put your hand in your pocket and take some money out and put it into the platform. I just had a look before, it's costing us in Australia, which is $23 Australian per month, which is probably about $1.50 American. No, it's $14.99 American, I believe. Or it could have gone up a little bit, but it's a very, very cheap price for you to actually get onto Zoom itself. Once you sign up to Zoom, you're presented with a profile and you are presented with a personal ID meeting. Now, the personal ID meeting is an amazing thing because if you use that same ID for every single meeting, if a member loses the link or they forget how to connect, they can just come into the previous sessions of Zoom that they've got on their desktop application, select the drop-down box and the meeting ID will be there, and then they can go and connect again. There's been some changes in the last few weeks around the security of Zoom because there's been a lot of online platforms, a lot of online meetings, and there's been a thing called Zoom bombing where people have dropped in unexpectedly into a Zoom meeting and hijacked that meeting. So Zoom have implemented the passwords field, and they've always had it, but they've really reinforced you for having the passwords field, and I would recommend you to definitely set a password. So to do that, we first have to schedule a new meeting. So on the left-hand side, a little bit down underneath your profile, you can schedule a new meeting. And that enables you to then put in the details of the meeting itself. So for example, you might put in the name of the meeting that you're going to have, could be the agenda number or meeting number, what time the meeting is going to be, and then at that stage, you can set passwords and all those other things in at that stage. And then you can then share that link to your members, and only they will have that link to be able to click on that link, pop in the password, and away they go. So the beauty of Zoom is it allows you to do recordings of the meetings, and I know that we're recording today. We're both recording in the cloud and we're also recording locally. The beauty of that is that you can then take those recordings and you can edit them down. So if you've got members who are doing speeches as they would normally do at a club in a face-to-face environment, they can still have their speeches recorded in a Zoom environment, and they can then be put up on Facebook or YouTube for further storage in the future, so they can be edited. So that's the beauty of local recordings as well as cloud recordings. We'll talk a little bit about cloud recordings in a moment, and one of those really exciting things is the share button. Down below in the settings on the left-hand side, you've got the meetings, the recording and the telephone options. So in here, you can actually set a whole bunch of settings in Zoom that enable you to allow your members access to certain things and not so much to other things. So for example, you might want them to be able to share their screen, or you might want them to be able to mute and unmute themselves so they can get ready for their assignment, or you might want the chat box to work so they can talk to each other throughout the meeting, or you might want to disable that chat box itself just in case it becomes distracting and the members go off on a little bit of a tangent. And so there's a whole bunch of settings that you can actually change for yourself in that particular area. Under the recording option, as I said before, we have the ability here to give permissions to record locally, so nobody can record it unless you're a host of the meeting, and that's really beneficial because you don't want invasion of privacy or privacy of people taking away stuff that they don't want to be shared. So if you're going to record it, make sure that you limit the number of people who do the recording itself. You can also have a look at the recordings in the cloud, and that's what we're going to talk about now just briefly here. With the Zoom recordings, in the cloud, you have the ability to edit those inside of Zoom itself. So if you go into the actual program, it's into the website of Zoom, and you go into the more option, you can go into edit, and that allows you to crop. So you can take out all the stuff before the speech, all the stuff after the speech, and you can sort of do a little bit of editing on the fly, and then you can then share that file to all of your members. So then you have the ability to share it out to your entire club so they can watch it back at their local, at their own pleasure. Or if, as I said, you can also have a local recording on your computer, do the same sort of editing on your local computer, it being a MacBook or a Windows-based editing software, and then put it up on YouTube or Facebook or something along those lines. So that's quite exciting. One of the other things you can do with Zoom is you can integrate other applications into Zoom itself. You can integrate the calendar and cloud drive. So for example, your club, you can share out the Zoom invitation through Google Calendar or through Microsoft Outlook, or something along those lines. You can also have Google Drive attached to it, or Dropbox. So if you have your agendas, you can actually attach your cloud. So you've got all of your agendas in the cloud on Dropbox or on Google Drive. You can pop your agenda in there, share it through the Zoom platform, and that way when the members arrive, they have the ability to get the agenda immediately. So that's one other really good thing with the advanced integration of what they can do with the Zoom itself. Another thing you can do is the email. As I said, you can have advanced integration into the email. So you can click a button and that will automatically email all the members any updates, any additional information that they may need to know about the actual meeting itself. So that's some advanced integration. I don't do a lot of advanced integration into Zoom. I live on the principle of KISS, which is keep it smart, simple. And then I will then go over just briefly the Zoom desktop application. Once you install Zoom onto your computer, you can access the Zoom program at any time. You don't need to go back to the website. You can just load the actual application on your computer, log into the application itself, and you can conduct the business here. You can schedule meetings. You can do on-the-fly meetings. So, for example, you want to have an executive meeting with somebody or a chat with somebody in the club. You can just start a meeting and somebody can join that meeting using that personal ID. So you might have a telephone call or text them a message and say, I'm just about to start a Zoom meeting, come in on our personal ID, and then they can join up without having to go through scheduling a meeting and sending it out and all those other things that you can do. You can just start a meeting. But you do have the ability to schedule the meeting as well as join other meetings from in here. And there are some settings inside of Zoom itself in the actual desktop application that allows you to play with a whole bunch of things in here. That is setting up your web camera, making sure that you've got your web camera working. Some people will have a web camera in their laptop and then they'll have an external web camera that'll sit up on top of an external screen because it's a better quality webcam than the one that's built into the laptop. So you can go into those settings inside of the desktop application and change the source. So you can change the video feed, you can change the audio feed, you can plug in a USB microphone, or you can go in via analog. And that allows you to just change the actual source itself. This morning I did a webinar, and for the first 15 minutes in the countdown, my source was Disney classic music. So instead of me actually speaking, I just played music to the members who were coming on. So it's really nice to set ambient atmosphere that you might want to play a bit of music before your meeting starts underway. So I went through that really super quickly, and I am opening the floor now to any members who would like to have any questions answered around the Zoom platform. So please, if you have a question, Carol, do they need to ask you to unmute, or can they just unmute themselves and go for it?
Great, Simon. Thank you so much. The best way is for people to just raise their hands using the reactions at the bottom if they like, with a thumbs
So
up.
we've got Mary. Mary's got a physical hand up. So Mary, if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to do so.
I just wanted to ask, I'm not sure if I missed it. Can only a host do recording, or can anyone do their own recording?
So yeah, generally a host and a co-host. So a Zoom meeting has a host and a co-host generally, and it's always good to have a co-host, because if the host gets disconnected from the meeting and there's no co-host, it ends the meeting. So it's always good to have a co-host anyway, and they automatically have the ability to Zoom record the meeting. However, you can give other members the ability to record the meeting, but I would say that the host and the co-host would be the only two that really need it.
Kind of on that same thing, I'm thinking I would like to maybe just record my own personal speech. Could people just do a record? Like, I just need to do it for the time I speak. Is there a way? Is that what they do? They would transfer control?
So what they can do is they can actually right click on your name when it's just about time for you to speak, and they can say allow record, and then you record locally. But if it's recording into the cloud already, as Graham said, as soon as you press the record button, it will kill the cloud recording. So this is the issue that you're going to face. So it's probably best to allow the host or the co-host to do the recording of the entire meeting, and then they can take out the little bit that they need and send it to you on Dropbox or something like that. Any other questions, please? Evo, yes. Evo Keen from Townsville.
Sorry, we've just started with a Zoom application, and our first meeting is Monday night. Because I actually did it because I'm the treasurer of the club, how do I know who the host is, and how do we appoint a co-host?
Okay, so the person who starts the meeting. So whoever is the starter of the meeting, the person who commences the meeting, is the host. Okay, so they have to have the username and the password. So if you don't have the username and the password, you can't schedule a meeting. You can't get onto the Zoom platform to actually start the meeting itself. So if you're the treasurer, for example, and you've set up the account, you could go onto the website before the meeting starts and click Start Meeting. That automatically makes you the host, because everybody else comes in as just members. They don't have the username and the password, and you shouldn't give the new username and the password to every member in the club. Only the executive really should have the access to the Zoom account itself. So everybody comes in as a user of the account, but not actually the host of the account. And then to assign a co-host to a person, all you do is you just right click on their name in the participants field and go make co-host. Yes, Mafed, I think you had your hand up.
Thank you.
In fact, maybe it's too early to ask the question, but in the profile, there's a possibility of adding a picture, which appears when you kill the video. When you stop the video, your picture comes in.
Yes, it does. Exactly right.
In my case, it doesn't. I don't know.
So that would have to be, it could be something to do with the resolution of the file that you've sent to Zoom, to upload it to Zoom. You would need to just go back into your settings on the website. It's probably the easiest way, and have a look at see if your profile picture appears on the Zoom website. I can see that it's not appearing there now. So I would say what you need to do is just go back to the Zoom website and upload a new photo to it under the profile section and see if that resets it for you. That's probably the easiest way. I've got about 30 seconds to go. Brian.
When I send out and share the videos, I always attach a statement to it that the video is a private, it's private video, and only the people that were in the meeting can actually share it or see it, unless everybody gives permission, like to say to record, take a piece out and then put it on someplace else. Mind you, like if Mary's pointing out, if she is just going to take her part of the meeting and it's just showing her, then there would be no problem in that particular case because it's hers.
Absolutely. And I'll wrap up there by saying whenever a speaker is speaking, the protocol is to always make sure that that speaker is in what they call spotlight view. So I'll put it in spotlight view here, so you can see I'm at big screen on my screen here, and that enables, so when you are recording, that only gets recording is me and no other members across the top of the screen. So the thing is, you don't want to have other people in your Zoom recording itself when you're speaking. When it's just general, then that's perfectly fine. So with that, I will hand back control to the Toastmaster of today, Brian Dodd. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. I don't think I could have presented all that in that amount of time. Our second speaker today is Roger Fung, and Roger is in many clubs. Let me read his bio. Roger began Toastmaster journey in 2017. He was Pathways Guide for his local district, District 50, when Pathways launched in February 2018. In November 2018, Roger began his first Pathways DTM in District 50, completing the presentation mastery and strategic relationships. He is currently working on engaging humor and dynamic leadership paths. With his experience gained from being a member of Online Presenters Toastmaster Club, Roger was able to convert his wife's piano instruction business from 100% in person to 100% online in less than 48 hours. Over to you, Roger. And Roger is going to show us how to manage screen share for presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. This is Roger Fung, and hopefully in the next few minutes, I'm able to impart a little bit of knowledge to all of you. And I am going to first and foremost share my whole screen, and you might see that infinity look, so stick with me. Let's see if that would happen. Oh, it doesn't allow me to have all the windows. Hopefully it does. For some reason, our share screen doesn't allow me to do the whole screen, but we will go with it. Don't worry. We will do the best I can. So let me see. Share. Let me do one more. Something weird. Oh well, it's okay. We can talk it through. First and foremost, three things I want to update very quickly as a follow-up to our last speaker. Number one, even if you're not planning to have a pay account and you're a member of a club and you're not the Sergeant at Arms, I would strongly encourage you to go ahead and sign up for a free account and then download that app onto your desktop because it will give you more control. Number two, way before a meeting, maybe an hour before a meeting, make sure you update that app because oftentimes, for example, because of all the security issue and the Zoom bombing back and forth and so on and so forth, Zoom has been changing their details quite a bit. Last night, I was at a meeting where I have updated my app, which they have brought back the ability to share files in the chat box. But half of the club did not update their app, so they cannot get it. Or they can get the files from me, but they cannot send me files. So all that to say, you want to get the app, download it onto your desktop, and update it when you anticipate that you're going to have a meeting. Number three, when you hit the manage participant, earlier one of the participants have asked a question about, hey, who's the host? Well, click on manage participant, pop up over here, it will be listed, so-and-so is a host or a co-host, or so on and so forth. You will be able to see that. And if you are a host or co-host, you can click on the more button and able to bring the add certain people into the host. One thing that number of our clubs have done is that the club have paid for a pay account where the password is given only to 3 people within the officers, not all of them. And then there's a host sharing key is shared among all the executive. That means if any of those 3 does not log in, the others officer log in and still can claim the host. Then that way that minimizes the potential of people going back and forth and changing things. Because one last comment about the back office of Zoom. We're having a meeting right now. Let's suppose that Carol decided there's something of the settings that our last gentleman have shared that she wants to change. Well, she can go into the back office and change it, but it will not impact this meeting because it's an ongoing meeting. Any changes made will impact your very next meeting. So you want to make sure you are clear with that. However, anything that you do change right now underneath, well, it's going to impact this particular meeting. And if you don't have a gorgeous face like this one to show your profile, guess what? You can click back onto, even if you don't have gone back to your back office, you can click into your little app, little gear button, and click into it. You will find your profile and you can change your profile picture. And here's a bonus just for being here. You can use your profile picture as a hack on showing the color for a timer. Instead of showing this mug every single time, I can change the profile during the meeting to show using the green, yellow color. Just bring in 4 or 5 pictures, have it all in one place in your folder, so you can click, 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 click in the right time and change that picture and use that as a timer. But that's a hack. So how do we do sharing in Zoom? In the green button underneath, you can click onto it, and if the host allows participants to do so, you can click and it will show, and I can pick any of the documents that I have opened up. What I am going to do is actually going to open up my PowerPoint. So right now, you should see my PowerPoint presentation. And what you notice is that when I have it like this, and if you see my pointer, if I go to the lower right-hand corner, next to the Zoom percentage, usually many of us would use this function in terms of presentation. And when I click onto it, it will turn this into a slideshow, and it will overtake my entire desktop. Now I cannot really navigate on anything else but PowerPoint. Well, instead of doing this, one of the other option for you is actually use the next button to the right, to the left of it, the reading view. When you click on the reading view, now all of you see it, but for example, I have shrunk the size of the reading view, and I can have it much smaller in the corner, and I might have scripts right next to it, and now I can use multi-window and still be able to present as I move, for example, the slides to show the winners in a contest, for example, and I still have the rest of my desktop to see what's happening. So that is one way of using PowerPoint. Instead of using a screen share, completely take over your desktop, use the reading view, and you can resize the reading window and save the rest of your desktop. Well, another way you could do it is actually using Google. Now, if you can take a PowerPoint slide and upload it to your Google Drive, do notice that because those two are different companies and different software, you will have a slight difference in terms of the font that you have over here. Maybe the box was left on the side and just a little bit. So you do need to manipulate it a little bit. But after you clean it up, now it is on the cloud on Google Drive. Well, the one thing that's nice is, for example, let's say we are having a contest right now, and I'm the contest chair or contest master, and I'm talking, and Carol is the chief judge. Well, she can go ahead and update that spreadsheet or the slides showing who's the winner, 1, 2, and 3. While I'm talking, I don't have to do a thing. And when I'm ready to present, well, my Google slides on my browser is updated instantaneously when Carol works on it on her side. So that's a little bit nicer than updating a PowerPoint slide and sending it back and forth to different people. Is it version A, is it version B, or is it version C? You have a share version, and it's always the latest copy. And what you do is click on the share drive, a share screen. You click on your browser, and you share your browser. For example, you're just looking at my back office there. I'm going to show you, boom. Hey, how about this? A winner certificate, or maybe even in your club that you have created some best table topic, right? Best evaluator. So I would go to the upper right-hand corner, click on present, and Now, it does have, currently the default will take over my laptop, my desktop. However, I can resize it, make it smaller like earlier, and basically just resizing my browser down. And I can now share and update these various things that I've already put in to my Google Drive. Now, if you, whenever let me do this. Let me share screen. I'm going to talk as if I know what I'm talking about. If you look up, you should have a control panel toward the top where you can click on the view option, and you can check the one that says side-by-side view. And when you do so, right at the edge between my presentation and the various video square, you can hover over the edge, and now you can resize it, making, for example, my slides much smaller so you can see more people, or the other way around. And that now allows you with that side-by-side view. And now you can control what you see, but it does not impact the rest of us. Now with that, I can keep going, and those people who know me well knows that they have to cut me off. Therefore, I will cut myself off and open it up for questions. There are tons of things that we could do, but let's go with it. Anybody raise your hands and we'll go with it.
Brilliant presentation, Roger. I'm sure there are a few questions. One from Simon.
Simon, yes.
Hey, Roger. I've been doing a series of Zoom tips for our district in the last few days, and I came across an interesting one for when members are doing dual screens, and they've got 2 screens on their computer. And when you start a PowerPoint presentation, what happens is it puts it into presentation mode. So it has the presentation on one side and the notes and the oncoming slides on the other side. And it throws people out because they all of a sudden can't see their members on the screen. So what I had a look at was there's an option in PowerPoint under slideshow setup to disable presenter view. And then when you start the PowerPoint presentation, it will start it on one screen and leave the other screen alone, and you can have all of your members on the secondary screen.
Yeah, in fact, as a follow-up in PowerPoint, you can actually also resize your presentation size too. You can set it up so that it does not take up your whole desktop. But that is something that 90% of the people who use PowerPoints don't go in there and change, and they might not remember to change it back. Therefore, the quick and easier way that I have been sharing is the reader view, and just leave that, because click on reader view, you can resize that reader window, and then you can come right out, so you're not manipulating other things. And yes, some of us are more fortunate to have dual or triple or quadruple screens, and I will let them play with that. Questions? Raise your hand, please. Go ahead. Either the digital hands or your physical hands. And if I don't catch you, if Carol and others can help, Graham.
if you're going to be sharing, this is just something that I thought I'd mention, if you're going to be sharing the screen and there is audio involved, if you're going to be showing a video or if there is audio on your PowerPoint slides, before you actually begin to share screen, you have to turn on share computer sound. I just thought I'd mention that one because I've seen a number of people try to do videos and it just didn't work because the sound didn't work.
Yeah, that is where you click on that green button first on share screen. In the pop-up and below on the bottom left, you will see share computer sound, and you want to check that box first before you share, then you can do the sounds. And if you're in the, you can try it right now, but not complete the sharing, and you can see what I'm talking about. Click on the share screen, the pop-up window, you see basic, advanced, and files. In the advanced, one of the things that you can do is that normally you can resize the screen. It looks like this, this is not turned on for this account, I believe. So therefore, if that feature is turned on in the back office, then you can actually share not the whole desktop, but let's say a corner of it. And now you can, again, showing just that portion of your desktop. So those are some of the additional things that you could do, but I would say that stick with the basics, get familiar, and then you can be fancy later on. Questions? Yes, Mary, and then Muffet. Mary first.
I lost you about the Google Drive, being able to pull things in that way. I like the reading view, got that, but I'm not savvy enough.
Right, when you're on Google Drive or any other browser-based software or tools, you have your browser open. So let's say you use Internet Explorer or Firefox. You have that. So when you are sharing your screen, you can choose not sharing your whole desktop, but that particular program that you have open. So you're sharing your Firefox. Well, inside of Firefox, now you can go to your Google Drive. You can do your presentation, and now it's that browser. Now that browser can certainly be resized however size that you want, so that you can still retain part of your desktop, and you might have a Word document on the side, but everybody else only sees that Firefox browser, but not anything else.
And do you have to have an account that's a payable account to have that feature?
No, it's a feature that's turned on in the back office. So if you have a free account, try it, play it, and see what happens. Yes, we have Muffet. You have a question. You have your hand.
Yeah. I don't know if it's possible to ask about the visual background. I cannot get visual background correctly.
Do you have an account?
Yes.
All right. So looking at your current background, you may be able to get away with it because it's almost like a solid color. The thing is, when you click on the up arrow next to the stop video button, you can get into your virtual background settings. If you have a faster computer, I believe it's an i7 and up, is that now you have it. Now what happened is you don't have a physical background, physical green screen. So the computer is trying to calculate what's going on. So your face, according to the computer, is very close to your background. So therefore it's going to eliminate all of it. Now you can manipulate it by try to click on the green screen button and see if you can, the green color, and see if you can click onto your background and tell the computer that's my background. But however, your computer may require something else. So that is something you have to play with because everybody's background's a little bit different. Even the different time of day in the room with different lighting, you will have different results. Therefore, you'll see that that obviously is not my office, all right? Because it is midnight here in Dallas, or actually almost 1 o'clock, and it's not bright outside. So what I like to do is I would completely close off all of my curtains. I have my lightings. So therefore, this setup is exactly the same at midnight or at noon, because I'm not allowing the sunlight to dictate what I'm going to be doing. So that is my last questions. I would more than happy to answer any questions later on. You can drop your questions into the chat box. My email address is dtmrogerfung@gmail.com. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you, Roger. And I know that Roger's very good at answering his emails. So if you have any questions and you didn't catch his email address, he can pop it into the chat box, and you can save that chat box. Or Carol, do we have the set? Can they save the chat box?
Yes,
or
they can.
Yes, it's been changed now.
So you go down to the three little dots in the chat room and click on it and just click Save the Chat. It's a long explanation of where it actually goes, but it's there. So at this point, we've actually gone over time. And I'd like to thank both of our speakers, and for their answers and everything else. I would suggest that if you have more questions, pose them in there. We will end the meeting, and Carol is going to pop a survey onto the screen, and then Samir is going to wind up the meeting.
Thank you, Brian. It's actually Samir who will share that survey, but I'll go get it anyway.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful session. For the survey, we will publish the survey through the email. We will send the survey through the email which you used to register for today's session. Within a few hours, you will receive it, and we'll be happy to receive your feedback and your suggestions for the coming sessions. I'm really feel grateful for our trainers today, Simon Cornwell and Roger Fung today, who shared with us some tips and tricks and the best practices in setting our Zoom accounts and sharing our screens. Personally, I learned a lot, and I'm sure also you did so. Do you agree with me? Fellow Toastmasters, thank you for attending our second session of the IGTO, the International Guide for the Online Training. See you in the coming session, the third session next Saturday, where we will discuss and talk about how to conduct successful club meetings, how we can plan our agendas and promote meetings, how we can manage meetings, roles, and recording. See you next Saturday at the same time.